Everybody wants to know what the 1% are doing differently. People ask it like there is a hidden room somewhere, a private conversation, some billionaire group chat where Warren Buffett drops stock tips while somebody's uncle from Dubai sends voice notes about generational wealth. But if you actually study wealthy people for long enough, not influencers pretending to be wealthy, not people leasing lifestyles for Instagram, real wealthy people, the answer becomes almost irritatingly simple. The 1% are usually doing boring things for an offensively long time. That is it. And modern culture hates boring. We live in a time where people want six-figure results from 6 weeks of effort. Everybody wants the overnight success story without hearing about the 10 years where nothing looked impressive. Nobody posts the years where they were packing lunch from home, driving the same car, missing trips, investing tiny amounts monthly, quietly saying no to things they technically could afford because they understood the difference between "I can buy this" and "this makes financial sense." The 1% understands that difference deeply. Most people do not. A guy named Felix taught me that, without even trying. If you met Felix at first glance, you would never guess he was wealthy. Never. The man wore plain black t-shirts like they came in a government starter pack. Same old wristwatch every day. His car looked like it had survived several emotional seasons. No designer logos, no dramatic lifestyle, no rise and grind speeches online. Meanwhile, this man owned 3 apartment buildings and had investments quietly compounding in the background, while people who mocked his simple life were drowning in debt trying to look successful. One afternoon, somebody at work laughed and asked him, "Bro, when are you finally gonna enjoy your money?" And Felix just smiled. Then he said something that stayed with me for years. "I enjoy peace more than appearances." Silence. Because that is what people do not tell you about the 1%. A lot of them are not chasing flex culture anymore. They are chasing freedom. Freedom sounds less exciting online, but it changes your life more. Freedom is sleeping without debt panic. Freedom is not checking your account balance with one eye closed. Freedom is handling emergencies without your entire blood pressure rising into the heavens. That kind of freedom is usually built quietly, not dramatically. You know the interesting thing? This same culture is what they teach their children, and it becomes tradition passed down through generations. That's the actual reason the rich gets richer. Have you taken time to observe the lifestyle of the 1%? They're the ones that can easily be lost in the crowd. They don't wear flashy gold chains and designers everywhere. They're mostly very simply dressed, never seeking to impress anyone. They invest in assets that'll appreciate over time and can be passed down throughout their generation. So you see, they're actually playing the long game, the game of chess, whilst others are playing checkers. And Proverbs understood this long before finance podcasts existed. Lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands bring wealth. The Hebrew word for diligent is charuts, not frantic, not flashy, not overworked for social media validation. Charuts means sharp, consistent, focused, deliberate. It describes somebody who keeps applying steady pressure in one direction long enough for results to finally appear. That is the part modern culture struggles with, because we have romanticized fast money. Everybody wants the viral business, the lucky investment, the cryptocurrency miracle, the sudden breakthrough. And listen, those stories exist, but they are not the rule. They are financial lottery tickets people turned into motivational content. The actual rule is slower. The actual rule is somebody investing every month for 25 years while nobody claps for them. The actual rule is somebody refusing to inflate their lifestyle every time their salary increases. The actual rule is restraint, and restraint is deeply unpopular, especially now. We live in a world where people finance phones they cannot afford to impress people they secretly dislike. People are exhausted financially because image maintenance has become a second rent. There are people earning good money who still feel constantly broke because every increase in income immediately gets swallowed by lifestyle upgrades. New salary, move apartments. Promotion, new car. Small business starts doing well. Designer addiction activated immediately. Suddenly, somebody making 3 times more than they made 5 years ago still has anxiety every month around the 26th because income changed, structure did not. That is why the 1% often looks boring. They understand something most people avoid emotionally. Wealth is usually built in the invisible season, and invisible seasons are uncomfortable because they do not give immediate validation. Nobody congratulates you for maxing out your retirement account. Nobody screams when you avoid unnecessary debt. Nobody throws you a party because you stayed financially disciplined for 8 years. The rewards come later, very later sometimes. That delay ruins people. Human beings love immediate evidence. We want proof quickly, but compound growth does not work dramatically at first. It works quietly. A seed underground looks like failure until suddenly it does not. I remember a woman named Hadiza who earned very good money in tech. Sharp girl, funny, beautiful, always outside, and every year her income increased. Her lifestyle increased faster. She upgraded apartments twice in 4 years, changed cars twice, started traveling first class because she said economy felt too stressful now. But behind all of it, she was constantly anxious. One evening, we were talking after dinner, and she admitted something almost nobody around her knew. She had not saved properly in years, despite earning more money than both her parents combined ever did. And that is when she said something painful. I thought earning more would automatically make me financially stable. A lot of people secretly believe that. But more money without discipline usually just creates more expensive chaos. The 1% understands that money magnifies habits. If you are reckless with little, you become dangerous with more. That is why wealthy people tend to obsess over systems, not motivation. Systems, automatic investing, structured budgets, debt reduction plans, emergency funds. Things that sound painfully unsexy at dinner parties. But those boring systems create extraordinary outcomes over time. And this is where most people sabotage themselves, because they underestimate small repeated actions. People think wealth comes from giant financial moves. Sometimes it does, but usually it comes from small, disciplined choices repeated for decades. The same way bodies are shaped by repeated eating habits. The same way marriages are shaped by repeated conversations. The same way faith is shaped by repeated surrender. Life changes through repetition. The 1% simply repeats better financial behaviors longer than most people are willing to. That is the uncomfortable truth. And honestly, some of the habits are almost embarrassingly simple. They lived below their means for years, not temporarily, not until they made it as a lifestyle. That one habit alone changes everything. Because when your expenses stay controlled while your income grows, margin appears. And margin is where wealth starts breathing. Most people kill their margin immediately. The 1% protects it aggressively. Second, they invested consistently, not emotionally, not based on headlines, not because some guy on YouTube screamed about a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Consistently, when the market was exciting, when it was ugly, when the economy looked scary. Consistency beats emotional decision-making over long periods almost every time. Third, they avoided consumer debt as much as possible. That one is huge. The wealthy understand interest differently. Poor people often pay interest. Wealthy people usually collect it. That changes the entire game, because every month your money is paying lenders. Instead of compounding for your future, time is quietly working against you. And time matters financially more than almost anything else. That is why the 1% starts early when possible. Not because they are smarter, because they understand compounding. Compounding is basically time plus consistency, having a baby together. And that baby becomes terrifyingly powerful later. But at first, it looks unimpressive. That is the trap. People quit too early because the beginning looks too small to matter. Meanwhile, small things become massive if repeated long enough. A river can cut through rock not because it is violent, but because it keeps showing up. That is what disciplined money habits do. They keep showing up. The 1% also built multiple income streams eventually. But this part gets misunderstood badly online. People hear multiple income streams and suddenly they are trying to start 7 businesses while still financially unstable. That is chaos-wearing ambition. Most wealthy people built one thing solidly first, then another, brick by brick, not panic by panic. The internet made everybody feel late. That is another issue. Everybody feels behind now because social media constantly exposes people to curated success stories. So people rush, force things, take stupid risks, overspend trying to catch up to timelines God never assigned to them. Meanwhile, many truly wealthy people spent years looking very ordinary before the results became visible. That is the irony. The beginning of wealth often looks disappointingly average. I think that is why Jim Rohn said, "What is easy to do is also easy not to do," because these habits are simple. Simple does not mean easy emotionally, though, especially in a culture constantly whispering, "You deserve it. Live a little. Treat yourself. Life is short." And yes, life is short, but financial consequences can feel very long. The 1% understands delayed gratification better than most people. They are willing to look unimpressive temporarily in order to become unshakable later. That takes maturity. And honestly, there is something deeply biblical about that. Scripture constantly talks about sowing before reaping, planting before harvest, faithfulness before increase. The kingdom has always understood process. Modern culture worships immediacy. That tension is everywhere. People want harvest without seasons, muscles without training, wisdom without suffering, wealth without restraint. But life rarely works that way. The long road usually remains the road, and the 1% accepted that earlier than everybody else. That is the real secret. Not intelligence, not luck, not private information hidden from ordinary people. Just sustained, disciplined behavior over a very long period of time. Boring? boring, quiet, consistent, and eventually the mathematics become impossible to ignore. By then, everybody calls them lucky. But luck did not wake up every month and invest consistently. Luck did not say no repeatedly. Luck did not avoid debt. Luck did not stay disciplined during invisible years. Discipline did. The 1% are not magical people. Most of them simply learned how to stay faithful to small principles long after everybody else got distracted. And maybe that is the biggest lesson of all, because wealth leaves clues. But the clues are so ordinary, most people walk past them looking for fireworks instead. If this message hit different, if something in your spirit just shifted, don't let it stop there. Hit like, not for the numbers, but because there's a steward somewhere still scrolling who needs to find this. Share it with the one who's been praying for breakthrough but hasn't had the word broken down with receipts yet. And subscribe to Bible Rebooted. We're not here to make you feel good. We're here to hand you the truth and show you what to do with it. Manage it like it was never yours. It's your boy Dave Solara signing out. Like, subscribe, and stream music.
But something in me believes I was built for the extraordinary. Danger came for what was mine. I didn't flinch, I didn't break. Funny how the smallest faith can shape the biggest things that come your way.
Not by my strength, not by my hand. He conquered death so I could stand.
The fight is over, the battle's done. I'm just celebrating what my Savior won.